Good morning. I'm on here today. I just wanted to chat about signs of suicide, the signs that I've seen with my son Taylor, and now looking back on, the 4 years before he passed away, maybe some of the signs that I even missed that maybe could help some other parents look into their children and maybe even talk about it and help them. It seems like over social media in the last week or so that the suicide posts have been really high. And I know that's partly because of Lincoln Park's lead singer, Chester, committing suicide. And so it's really been a lot of talk about it. I made a post about that because the video I made for Taylor like 3 weeks ago where I told his story, I had music playing in the background. And the one song that I chose to play was by Linkin Park, and it was One More Light. I heard the song. It's a new song released by him, his last album, and the words in it just, touched my soul. That's exactly how I felt and how I feel. So I have used that song in his video. The irony of it is that 3 weeks later, the lead singer Chester committed suicide. He committed suicide, for those who don't know, the exact same way Taylor did, by hanging himself. I don't know. It's just a weird coincidence that all that happened. And I've always loved Linkin Park, but I didn't realize how popular they actually were until this, all over the world. And Linkin Park's fan page posted Taylor's video to that the other day. The messages I received were unbelievable from all over the world. I had 20,000 views of his video in just that one night that reached people all over the world. I got messages from military that's deployed in different countries. I've got messages from, Russia, Italy, Ukraine. It's kind of crazy, and these people are telling me that this is how they feel and that they can relate to the words. And I responded to every one of them, and we talked. So I'm going to get on with this, and that's pretty much why I wanted to talk about this today, because it was I got such a big response from people that are really hurting out there. I'm not a psychiatrist. I'm not licensed therapy, nothing like that. I'm just a mom who lived through this for 4 years watching and had to go through the suicide, and I have had those feelings myself. First of all, Taylor, when he first got out of the Army after his wreck, he was discharged, and he was in the Warrior Transition Battalion, and I guess they had done all that they could do, and they discharged him, gave him his keys, and told him to go home. At this time, he was at Fort Campbell, because I had got him moved closer to me from Fort Carston to Fort Campbell, because I'm in right at Memphis, Tennessee. First of all, he didn't have driving privileges. When he got his traumatic brain injury from the wreck, he was unable to drive. He had to relearn everything in his life. The brain injury was too bad for him to get his license back. But the Army discharged him and told him to go home, and knew he had his car out there, and watched him get in his car and try to drive from Fort Campbell, Kentucky to Memphis. That didn't work out so well, because I got a call at 3 a.m. where my son had ran off the road and wrecked, and he was stranded. So I called a wrecker, got him towed to a local gas station where he was safe, and had to go get him. One thing that makes me mad is, here's what people say about people that are suicidal, and I've heard this over and over, and it makes me so mad. They say, it's the ones who talk about it that don't actually do it, and it's the ones who don't talk about it that do it. Well, that is so far from the truth. So far from the truth. It seems like people, hi Carla. Thank you for joining me. It seems like people think that if people threaten suicide, like I'm going to kill myself or I hate my life and I can't live like this anymore. And they think it's just like a pity party or, oh God, they just want attention or whatever it is. Well, you know what? It is a cry for help. Maybe they do want that attention. If they're saying it, they're thinking about it. You shouldn't ever dismiss that. And that was done so much to my Taylor. And it was unbelievable how many people said that about him because he did say he had suicidal thoughts for 4 years. He did cry out for help so many times. I even took him when he first got out of the Army. There's so many details about his story. I couldn't possibly talk about all of them in one message or one video, but I can do little details one at a time. When he got discharged, he was very suicidal, and one night he did go into a room and posted it on social media. I didn't see it, but a mother of one of his friends seen it, and they called 911 and traced his call and dispatched the police to where Taylor was at, which was only a few houses down from where I was at. And so I went down there and talked to him. And finally, it took a lot, but I got him to trust me enough to take him downtown to the Memphis VA and get help. And believe me, that was a hard talk. We called that little suicide hotline thing that everybody posts on the internet, and maybe it is good for some people, but the response we got was very negative, and pretty much all they said was, well, if he's suicidal, just take him to a local emergency room, and hung up. That's the advice we got from that hotline. And that was the VA suicide hotline. And so I took him downtown to the Memphis VA, and we got into, where they assess you. And the nurse that was assessing him was so rude, treated him like, oh my God, here we go again. Here's another one, blah, blah, blah. He dismissed all that. He wanted to leave, and I talked him into staying. And so they took him back and said, come back in the morning and check on him or whatever. And so I left, and I went back that next morning. Nobody could tell me where he was at. Taylor Odom, I don't know. I walked every floor in that hospital and went to every single different place in that hospital to ask if they had a Taylor Odom. Finally, about the sixth one that I went to told me, oh, okay, well, we didn't have room for him, so we sent him over to Methodist downtown. So they lost my son. They couldn't tell me where he was at. Moved him. I go to Methodist downtown. They have him locked up in a psych ward. So I went in there to talk to one of the people that work there, and told them I wanted to see my son. So they went and got him and brought him in the room, and he was mad, going off, cussing, outrageous. Pretty much all the VA did was put him in a utility room with cots for like 6 hours. Never checked on him, never brought him anything, couldn't go outside to smoke, didn't have his medication. Yeah, I'd be pretty mad too. And treated him like he's a piece of crap, and I mean, just really. And so Methodist, he was upset, wanted out of there. So I had left for a little while to gather my thoughts, and went back about, 6 hours later that afternoon, and was going to check on him, and he was standing in the parking lot. They discharged him and told him to leave, and so he did, and was sitting in the parking lot of the hospital with his stuff. So I picked him up, and that's how the story goes of why he never again asked for help from the VA. That's what happened. So that was his one time he did cry out for help. one time I took him to get help, and that's what they did to him. After that, pretty much all they did was give him medications, more and more medications. He had a traumatic brain injury. He was on narcotic uppers. He was on narcotic downers. He was, on mood stabilizers. You name it. They just gave him his medicine and said, come back in 6 months or so. They did not ever, and I took him to all his appointments, so I know, they did not ever just check up on him with all these medications to even see if they were working, to see what they were doing. They just prescribe them. And I'm going to tell you, I'm going to fast forward through 4 years of hell. Well, no, I'm not. I'm going to tell you I'm going to throw out a few signs on those 4 years of what he did. Suicide and PTSD signs. First of all, he moved a lot. He was moving from house to house, people to people, thinking that every time he moved, it was a new start. And that's what he would tell me. I need something new. I need to be around new people. I need, to start a new life. But he started this new life like every couple of months. It's crazy. And that's a big sign. That's a big sign that somebody is so unhappy and they're looking for something better, and they keep moving and they keep changing people that they talk to and thinking that it's going to get better and better and better, but it never does. And so eventually they just get tired of moving. They get tired of trying to start over, and they end it. And, the thing about Taylor is he went 2,000 miles away from me. Now, if he was in his thoughts thinking, look, I don't want to do this around my family. I don't really know what he was thinking, but he moved to Oregon and by himself, and he was going to a little college there for auto mechanics with his BA college thing. And he dropped out of that, and the next thing you know, he just hated it there, and I couldn't get to him. And I didn't want him to go that far. I knew he was sick, but what are you supposed to do? I tried to talk him out of it, and he was just dead set on going. Mom, I've already got enrolled in college. I've already got the apartment. I paid for it. Okay. It's just really hard to stop him. Stop somebody that's grown at that point, even though I knew I didn't want him to go. He had called me a few more months before he did this. It was probably 3 months, actually. And he was on the phone, and he was bawling. Just crazy crying. Mom, I can't stand this. I'm so depressed. I hate my life. Mom, and he couldn't even hardly breathe. And so I had calmed him down on the phone, and I told him, have you talked to your doctor about this? Because, I couldn't reach him. I knew he needed some kind of help. And have you talked to the doctor? Did you tell him, you're feeling this way? It might be your medications messing with you. They need to look into that. You're on a lot of stuff. And so I said, please just go to the doctor and talk to him. And so he did. He actually took that advice and went to his doctor a couple of days later. And he called me and said that they put him on a mood stabilizer. They didn't take anything away, but they put him on a mood stabilizer. A very strong one. He took it for about a month, and so I talked to him after about a month of taking it, and he said that it made him really, really sleepy during the day. He didn't like the way it made him feel. And I said, well, Taylor, you can't just stop taking medicine like that. But he did. So he said, I'm not getting it filled on the 1st. And he did. And that was the 1st of September. And the 17th is when he killed himself. In my mind, it was a lot of the medications that were not monitored right. Totally. The VA completely failed him on that one. They completely overdosed him. That's just some signs that I went through. The changing, the moving all the time, always looking for a new start, telling me and everybody else around him that he wanted to die, that he wanted to kill himself, actually attempting a few times, and people blowing it off. And just, he felt like there was nowhere to go and no one else to talk to. But there is. And I want you to know that you need to reach out if you feel this way. If you're a parent and you see these signs in your child, then it's a big sign. You shouldn't dismiss that. A lot of parents that haven't lost a child or don't really know what PTSD is really should educate themselves, because I didn't know what it was. I mean, I knew it was post-traumatic stress disorder. I knew the definition, but I looked at myself like that don't concern me. I don't have that problem with my children or anything. Yeah, well, I did. And I lost mine. And so you should really educate yourself on signs and symptoms of PTSD. There's so much stuff out there, and I post it on the internet. And then, this is why I tell my personal experiences, because sometimes that reaches people better than, reading, relating to real life. I don't want to make this video too long because I know that people don't like to watch a vlog, but that's just something that I wanted to say because of the social media suicide stuff that's going on right now. And I hate that Chester killed himself at Lincoln Park. But sometimes it takes somebody with that kind of status to open up the subject where people will look at it and talk about it. And, if you're feeling that way, you need to reach out and get help, because there are people who care. And if you see these in your child, you should reach out and talk to them, no matter how hard it is. That's all I'm going to say for today. I'll be back. There's so many topics I want to talk about, and this is all new to me. So I'm trying to get better at these posts and make them to where they help more people and more subjects that I'm going to be talking about. But thank you for watching, and if you're hurting, message me. I return all my messages. I'm here for you, and I love you all. Thanks.